Hey guys! Welcome back to our channel. It's the Entrepreneurs here, back for our Sunday recording. We're recording this pretty late, but you know, you gotta do what you gotta do, right?
Yeah, we gotta be consistent. This is part of our habit, so we're gonna do what we do every Sunday.
Yeah, and we're doing this for you guys, so thanks for watching. But
as always,
yeah, for today's video, we're gonna be talking about...
So for today's video, we're gonna be talking about mental health with entrepreneurship. So last week we put in a poll on Instagram on 2 topics. So the first topic was what we're going to be talking about today, where we're going to be talking about the mental health of entrepreneurship. And the second topic was true friends versus toxic friends. So maybe we can talk about that later on, but we're going to be talking about ways to help you guys with your mental health when you guys are, you know, having your own business and stuff like that.
Yeah, so as always, please don't forget to subscribe to our channel. The button is down below. Hit the notification bell to ensure that you're updated with all of our posts. Every Sunday we upload. Follow us on all of our social media platforms, so Instagram and Facebook. Again, I want to emphasize that we opened up a Facebook group called the Billionaire Mindset, the Entrepreneurs Club. If you guys want to join, it's a safe place for all entrepreneurs to collaborate, share experiences, share any ideas about business, and it's a great place for people who are like-minded.
Yeah,
so yeah,
exactly. And we're having such a great time there because we're basically, a lot of people are, you know, asking questions, asking for advice, contributing. And that's the most important thing, is when you can contribute and also you can give advice, then that's when the environment flourishes.
Yeah, so make sure you do that. And I guess we'll get on to our video.
Let's get started.
So before we get started, we just wanted to do a little bit of an update of our life.
Yeah.
This week we have been pretty busy, as every week is, being parent entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
But we were planning for 2 birthdays. So our daughter just turned 8.
Yeah.
And his mom, they shared the same birthday, which is amazing. It's totally meant to be.
Yeah, Serenity and my mom, they have the same birthday. So
yeah,
it's pretty amazing.
January 28th, and his mom just turned 60. So we've been planning 2 birthdays, and it was just chaotic.
Let's just say it was busy for us, and also for us to video of what we're going to be talking about today, because that's our commitment. You know, it goes beyond what we're talking about and how to be always consistent, because when you're consistent, you get results.
Yeah, and also I was studying for 2 tests in school today, so it was just like one thing building up on top of the other, and then business on top of that. So yeah, we gotta, you know, find ways to make it work.
Make it work.
We always do.
And we always do. And as an entrepreneur, you have to do that.
And with entrepreneurship, I just wanted to say as well that it brings a whole new level of stress. Because before we were working, well, I was working a full-time job in a law firm, 9 to 5 pretty much. And I kind of compare it to what I'm doing now, and I realized that the 9 to 5 is a little bit more laid back, because you would work for 8 hours and then you would come home and then chill, basically. That's basically it, and then you would just wait for your paycheck. But nowadays it's 24/7. Clients are messaging us constantly. My phone is always ringing off the hook because they need me, pretty much, right? And people always think like, oh, you know, entrepreneurship, you're working for yourself. Well, that's not really the case, because you're working for your clients. You're working for your shareholders if you're a big organization, right? You're working for everybody that depends on you in the organization. So really, you're not really working for yourself. But when it comes to time, yeah, you have more flexibility in that case, because you have the opportunity to delegate your time, or not delegate your time, delegate the work to make sure you have more time.
Yeah, and when you become an entrepreneur, it's a whole new responsibility, because if you think about it, being an entrepreneur, there's so many things going on, like what Camille said, like you're wearing multiple hats in your company. So you could be doing like the finance, you could be doing the marketing, you can be doing every single thing in your business so that it can grow. And when you're starting out, that's what you're gonna realize. And I'm sure you guys know this, because you guys are entrepreneurs as well, like us, and majority of you guys that are watching this are parent entrepreneurs, whereas now you have kids you have the business, and you're doing everything, right? You're trying to balance it, and it's complicated. And that's why we want to talk about mental health, because it's very important for you to realize that, hey, don't overwhelm yourself, don't burn out, take it step by step.
So we'll talk a bit about what mental health is. And mental health is basically the emotional, the physical, the social well-being, and that's basically the basis of how you perform as a person.
It's basically the way you think and act in a certain situation. So let's say there's a situation where, you know, something negative happens, or a negative situation, then how would you act? How would you feel? Then as an entrepreneur, and if you were really good at kind of like stepping back and kind of like analyzing the situation, then you wouldn't be annoyed, or you wouldn't be what you call negative. Like you want to resolve the problem as soon as you can, and so that you can keep track of your, I guess, situation.
Yeah, and I guess from someone who actually struggles with depression and anxiety, this is something that is really important to me, to make sure that other people are taken care of as well. Because when I see myself in the state of like depression and having anxiety, it's not a good feeling, because you're kind of putting yourself down, and I don't want to see anyone affected in the real world as well, like people that I love, friends and family, right? So this is why we want to share ways you can cope with different types of I guess outcomes when it comes to not having a good mental state. First things first, the 3 things that could result from not having good mental health are
burnout, depression, and anxiety.
Yes, so when it comes to burnout, we know this. We've experienced burnout multiple times because we're parents, and that's basically that feeling of like you can't do anything. You can't, like, you don't have the motivation to do any work. You just feel like, oh, I'm basically burnt out, kind of like a candle. There's no flame, right? So that's a very common result from not having good mental health. And also depression and anxiety. So for those who don't really understand depression and anxiety, it's that feeling of, you know, like self-hate as opposed to self-love. It's more negative. When I think about like my depression, it's like I'm in a really dark place, and it's really hard to get out of. And I know for a lot of people who suffer, especially moms, because they feel like they're always, you know, down on themselves, they blame themselves all the time. That depression is something that needs help. Like you need, whether it's medical help or maybe just like consulting with somebody. But and something to add what Camilla's saying too is, for me, when I feel burnt out, I feel like that I'm paralyzed. I can't do anything because I'm so overwhelmed with things that I can't focus on one task. And all I'm focusing on is the results. Okay, what do I need to do? I have to do this, I have to do that, I have to do many things. And basically, hours passes and you haven't done anything. You feel paralyzed because you're burned out. You have too much things on your plate. And with what Camilla's saying with depression and anxiety, the way I feel about that is with depression, like I feel like I'm like negative all the time. I'm blaming people. Just feeling the unknown on what's gonna happen next. That's really, really crucial to remember, that when you feel that way, you have to step back. And same goes with anxiety too. It's kind of like your heart is pounding. You have like no focus whatsoever, and it's really hard to get out of. It actually is,
because you feel like everything is against you. The world is against you.
So that's why we came up with 3 things that can help to resolve or kind of cope with burnout, depression, and anxiety. The 3 things that we suggest to resolve or to cope with all of the issues is to make time for yourself.
So like, how would you make time for yourself if you're super busy all the time? So you're taking care of your kids, you have your business, or some of you guys have a 9-to-5 job still, which I am still I still have a 9-to-5 job, where Camille is working on the full-time on the business. So she transitioned from working a 9-to-5, then basically quit her 9-to-5, work on the full-time business, and also going to school. So we're still super busy, right? But the thing is, when there's things that are happening everywhere in your life, there's like so many activities to do. What you need to do is you need to realize that, okay, you know what, I have too much on my plate. I know my limit. I need to step back and start saying no to other things.
Yeah, for sure. And some of the suggestions that we make is like journaling. Have the time to sit down and journal about how you're feeling.
Yeah.
And write every, write all of the emotions that you're feeling in the moment. And then you can look back and be like, oh wow, on this day I was feeling this way. And it's something good to keep just in case too. Like if, for example, you need professional help, then you can look back and be like, oh, I noticed I've been feeling depressed for a week, which is not normal. So it's good to kind of reflect on that, and your doctor can help some way, or you can contact your spouse, friend, or something like that and be like, hey, I've been feeling this way for this set amount of time. I need help. You know what I mean? Yeah.
So just make time for yourself. So if you're feeling depressed or you're feeling overwhelmed, burned out, you feel like you have a lot of anxiety inside you, just make time for yourself. Like what Camilla is saying, just maybe go for exercise, go work out, you know, pump some weights there, and you know, get some endorphins, because when you start working out, you actually your hormone, you actually secrete hormones, good hormones that will make you feel good. And when you do that, you're gonna feel a lot better, and you're gonna feel more productive.
Yeah. And also reading books helps too, to kind of put your mind in a place where, you know, you don't have to think about the current situation. You can kind of escape and, you know, like kind of like daydreaming, you know, like when you daydream, you're like, oh, I'm somewhere in Hawaii, or you know what I mean? Like you're just put in a place that's not reality just for a little bit of time, and that's actually really good for your brain and your mental health.
And another point that we want to talk about is, we already talked about this, is once you're overwhelmed, always say no. Don't always, like I know, like for us, we like saying yes. We're like a yes man. We have the yes man syndrome. We always say that. So like no matter what, like when somebody comes to us, like we always say yes, right? But the thing is, if you have too much things on your plate, then you have to know your limit, right? Like what we said before. And if you can't handle it, then you have to say no. But if you can, or there's other things that you could do, like delegating, then you can do that. So let's say you have a team, and Camille has a bunch of graphic design that she has to finish. What she can do is she can actually delegate all or some of the work to her teammates,
to kind of alleviate the workload, which is really good.
Yeah, and something like what we talked about before, everybody has 24 hours like in a day, so it's universal. So what we could do is, now, in order for you to kind of have more time for yourself, is when you start delegating to other people.
Yeah, and then the third thing is to acknowledge that you might need help and ask for help, whether it's like through a friend, through your spouse, through professional help. Like you have to acknowledge that sometimes it's okay not to be okay. And you can feel it, especially for me being a mom. I noticed that when I'm like raising my voice towards the kids, or I'm getting mad at McFrancis, that's a time I need to like step back and be like, okay, hey, this is not normal. I need to take time for myself, or go to the other resources that we mentioned before and kind of help resolve it, or to cope with it. Because it's okay not to be okay, and we're not perfect. Like humans, we have mistakes, we have flaws, but we need to take the first step and acknowledge that you're not feeling right. You know what I mean? Especially with your mental health.
And if you're not feeling right, then you have to take action that will help you better your mental health. So an example of this is, like, if you condition your brain to always think positive. So let's say within 30 days you feel like you want to be grateful of the things that you have, so you do that for 30 days. Then eventually, there's scientifically, they said that it changes the way you think of things when you start thinking positive every single day, and being grateful for what you have.
And this this kind of brings back up to like the passing of Kobe Bryant too, right?
Yeah, Kobe Bryant.
Which I'm praying for Vanessa, and I'm wishing her family, you know, a lot of strength during this time.
Yeah.
And it just gives you kind of like a perspective on how life is in general. It's short. So you got to make the most out of it, right? And for me, like thinking about Kobe and Gianna, that they didn't have a choice to, you know, stay or to go. Like it just happened so like devastatingly, you know what I mean? So you just gotta like think about those kind of things, that you should be grateful that you're here, that you have the power to say I love you to like your friends and your family, and you have the opportunity, right? So it's just like, you just have to be grateful for the present moment and take advantage of it. And always be grateful for what you have, and also that every single day be grateful that you're waking up and you can do massive things, that you can change everybody's life. And McFrancis always tells me this too, is like, you're so lucky that there are people out there who want to be in your spot. So that's one of the things that I take to heart every day I wake up. And because like from our background, so for me, I lived in the Philippines. I seen poverty, and we talked about this from our last video, where I seen it all, guys. Like I seen like kids that don't have anything, orphans, that are like, you know, maybe 3 years old, 4 years old, walking around in the Philippines, you know, asking for food. And I seen that there, and coming here is so completely different. And I've noticed that in Canada or in North America, there's a lot of mental illness, and I asked myself that, it's like, why is that, right? And coming from my background in the Philippines, like for me, I'm just grateful just to be in Canada and having this opportunity that we have now for our kids and for our family. So guys, to conclude this video, we want to talk about 3 things that will help with mental health. So that's with the to cope with burnout, depression, and anxiety. So there's the 3 things that we talked about. So make sure to always make time for yourself, because that's very important. If you have too much on your plate, just learn to know what your limits are. And if you do that, then now we're going to be talking about the second thing, is where you basically delegate. And when you delegate and learn how to say no to people, then you're going to have more time for yourself. And the third thing that we talked about is to always ask for help. When you don't feel good, when you think that there's an issue, turn to your partner or turn to a professional and ask for them for their help. And hopefully you'll have a better mental health and become a really amazing entrepreneur. So I guess that's the end of our video. As always, please subscribe to our channel, hit the notification bell, follow us on all of our social media platforms, follow us on our new Billionaire Mindset group. And I guess for next week, next week. So for next week, we'll be putting out a poll. I kind of want to elaborate more on mental health, but I think we can save that for another day. But we'll see how it goes.
We'll talk about, like, especially like my experience with mental health, and also maybe Camille's experience with mental health, because it's really important to understand where we came from and our experiences, because I think you guys might learn something new. But if you guys want us to talk about it, comment below. And if you guys if you want us to elaborate on it, then we'll do it.
Follow us on Instagram to see any updates of new videos coming up, or any ideas. We usually put up a poll so that you guys can choose on what we're gonna be talking about. But
see you guys.
That's it. See you. Bye.
See you guys next week. Bye.